One of the biggest questions I get from families who are thinking about moving abroad is, what about the kids? And honestly, I understand that concern, because when you're making a move like this, you're not only just thinking about yourself anymore, you have to take in consideration your kids as well. You're thinking about their education, their safety, their friendships, their future, and their opportunities. I remember having these same conversations before we moved to Dominican Republic. We were not just relocating ourselves, we was also relocating our daughter as well. And if I'm being honest, in the back of my mind, it wasn't one of the things I worried about the most, but it was something that I gave a lot of consideration to as well. Now you fast forward 5 years later, I can tell you the real story. Not the Facebook group conversations, not the vacation stories, the real version from someone who was actually raising a child right here in Santo Domingo. So let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room. Most parents are not concerned about themselves. They're concerned whether they're making the right or wrong decision for their kids. Because moving abroad sounds really exciting until the kids come into the conversation. And suddenly the questions start coming. What about the schools? What about their safety? What about the opportunities? Will they make friends? Will they fit in? And are you hurting their future? I remember hearing some of these same concerns from people back in the United States, as if us moving to Dominican Republic was somehow limiting our daughter. And what I discovered was, guess what? The exact opposite. One of the greatest gifts that this move gave my daughter was something that I did not plan. I figured it would happen, but I didn't plan it. And it was the language. When we moved here, she was not fluent in Spanish. Today, she speaks Spanish fluently. Not tourist Spanish, not classroom Spanish, but real Spanish, or should I say Dominican Spanish. The kind where she can have real conversations, build friendships, and move comfortably between the two cultures. And I don't think people really understand how valuable that really is. In today's world, being bilingual is not just a bonus, it's an advantage now. She can communicate with her other side of the family effectively. She can navigate different environments. She can now see the world differently because now she's not limited to one perspective. And honestly, watching her become bilingual was probably one of the coolest parts of this journey for me. Another thing that surprised me is how adaptable kids are. Adults, we overthink everything. And you know what kids do? They adjust. And I think often the parents are more nervous than the kids. And I tell parents who contact me this all the time. I say, you're gonna have to worry more about yourself adjusting than your kids, because your kids are gonna adjust very easily, especially if they're in their pre-teens. They're gonna adjust easily. We worry about them fitting in. We worry about them making friends. We worry about the culture shock. Meanwhile, our kids out there making friends in 3 days. I'm telling you, my daughter adapted faster than I did. She embraced the culture. She built friendships. She learned the language. And before long, she was not figuring out how to live here. This was simply home. And as for me, I spent months trying to figure it out. Banking, paperwork, transportation, language, how things work. Meanwhile, my daughter was just over there just being a kid, making friends, learning Spanish, experiencing the life, over there adapting. And you know what that did to me? It reminded me that adults make change much harder than it should be. Kids have this amazing ability to adapt to what's in front of them instead of constantly comparing what they left behind. And this is something that us adults do all the time. And that's when it hit me. Moving here, she wasn't losing anything, she was gaining everything. You know, one thing I like about living in Dominican Republic is how family-centered the culture is. Family is not something that's just scheduled here, it's actually a part of life. Grandparents, cousins, celebrations, gatherings, community, all that is just woven into the culture. And growing up around that is having a positive impact on my daughter. She sees relationships differently. She understands family differently. And in a world where everybody's just glued to the screen, something about that is refreshing to me. In the United States, family to her meant distance, because we were living in Fort Lauderdale and my family lived in Alabama. So there was no immediate family around. She didn't have that sense of family and community when we were living in Fort Lauderdale that she currently has here. So now let's talk about safety, because I know somebody already picking on the keyboard wanting to know about the safety here. And they're asking the question, is Dominican Republic safe for families? And here's my honest answer. Safety isn't about countries, It's about decisions. Yes, there are safe areas here in Dominican Republic, and there's also unsafe areas here in Dominican Republic, just like the United States. I spent 45 years in the United States, and there are places there you wouldn't catch me at. One thing I've learned about living here in Dominican Republic, that people judge the Dominican Republic through headlines. But I don't live my life through daily headlines. I live it through my experience. And our experience raising a family here has been overwhelmingly positive. So let's talk about schooling and values. And the schooling conversation has become very important because all schools here are not created equal. Just like in America, you have options. You have international schools, you have private schools, you have bilingual programs, different philosophies, different budgets. The key is to find one that aligns and fits with your child. But here's what matters the most to me as a parent. It's the values. Because education to me is not only just about academics, it's also about the environment that your child grows up in, the people around them, the culture around them, the experiences that they have. Also, what I want people to understand that they may not realize, that moving abroad doesn't automatically mean that your child has to attend a school in that said country. In our case, my daughter takes classes online. And looking back, having that flexibility has been one of the biggest advantages for our family. She's been able to maintain educational consistency, still experiencing life in another country every single day. But I'm gonna tell you what surprised me most. Some of the most valuable things she's learned since we've been here hasn't come from a classroom. They came from life, from learning Spanish, learning how to communicate with people from different backgrounds, learning patience when things doesn't work the way you think they're supposed to, learning adaptability, and learning that the world doesn't evolve around one country, one culture, and one way of doing things like people in the US feel or think. Those type of lessons, they don't show up on a report card, but they're real. And you know what? That may be more valuable than some of the things that I was worrying about before we moved. Because we're taught, and we sometimes think that education is mostly about academics, grades, curriculum, testing. Now I look at it differently, because education is also about experience, it's perspective, it's about exposure, it's learning how to navigate the world. And living here has given my daughter that experience that she just would not ever be able to find in a textbook. And that's one thing that I never considered, how much that she would learn outside of school. The language, the culture, the relationships, the confidence that comes with adapting to a different environment. And watching that has been incredible. Now they want to start with the jackhammer. I think as parents, sometimes when we think about moving abroad, we focus too much on what we think that our child is going to lose instead of really thinking about what they're going to gain. So if you're thinking of moving abroad, don't just ask, will your kid be okay? Ask, what opportunities might this create for my child? Because that's the question that I wish I would have spent more time thinking about before we made the move. So if you ask me today, was moving here to Dominican Republic the right decision for my daughter? I'm gonna tell you absolutely yes. Not because everything is perfect, because nothing is. Not because everything is easy, because it wasn't. But because she gained experience that cannot be taught in the classroom. Gaining the language, gaining the culture, gaining adaptability, gaining a new perspective, and a broader view of the world. Man, listen, you can't put a price tag on that. A lot of parents moving abroad would take the opportunities away from their kids. In our case, it created opportunities that we never expected. And while every family's journey is different, I can tell you this about our journey. Raising our daughter here in Dominican Republic has been one of the most rewarding parts of our entire move here. Not because it was perfect, but because it helped us all grow. So if you're raising kids abroad, or you're thinking about moving abroad with your kids, I want to know in the comment section below, tell me, what's your biggest concern about raising kids outside of the United States? And if you're interested in learning more about Dominican Republic, hit that subscribe button, like the video, because that's what we talk about over here on this channel. And guys, if you're interested in moving to Santo Domingo and you want to know what it's going to cost you to live here in Santo Domingo, I created what they call the DR Cost of Living Calculator. Links in the video description below. Also, if you're interested in investing in real estate, go to our website, drinvestandlive.com, or click the link in the video description below that says I want to invest in real estate, and I'll put you in contact with my trusted real estate advisor. Also, if you're interested in additional information about living here in Dominican Republic, self-development, how to make money online, join my weekly newsletter, Live Your Best Life newsletter. And also I have a DR Insiders bi-weekly real estate newsletter. All that is in the video description below. And until then, guys, always keep your goals at the forefront of your mind. Always live in the present, because that's the only way you're going to live your best life. And I'm out. Peace.